This episode is brought to you by Canada Post. Custom solutions for complex problems, brought to you by Canada's address experts. Visit them at canadapost.ca. It is time for This Week in Location-Based Marketing. This is episode number 74, and we're recording this live between Asif and I on Sunday, April 22nd. Today, we talk about Banjo hitting 1 million users, Mastercard launching their own daily deal service, Ditto being acquired by Groupon, and Square's insane valuation. Plus, special appearance by Jyri Engestrom of Ditto. All this and more coming up right now. Welcome, everybody. My name is Rob Woodbridge, and to my whatever this is left, Mr. Asif Khan. Asif, welcome, buddy.
Thanks, Rob. Yeah, great to be here. Always, never a dull moment in location-based marketing. We did have a great event in Toronto this week and talked all about data. And I do want to thank our sponsors for this podcast and also the sponsor for our event here in Toronto this past week, which is Canada Post. So thanks to them and thanks to you.
Sweet. Canada Post. Asif, well, I couldn't make it down there because, as everybody knows, everybody in the world knows by now, I was in Albany and I saw my now good friend, Bruce Springsteen. He crowd surfed right over me, man. It was a...
Did you get a jacket or anything? Or what?
No, I didn't get anything. But I'll tell you one thing that I did get, which was I'm old. I realize that I'm old and it takes a couple of days to recover from something like that. I drove all the way down to Albany in a day, saw the show, drove back the next day, and then, boy, oh boy, then it was Senators fever here in Ottawa because the Senators are about to knock off the #1 seed New York Rangers. So it's been a busy time. I'm sorry I missed your event, but we're here to bring the recap of the week that was in location-based marketing. Of course, you can find Asif at thelbma.com or at AsifArkhan on Twitter, or, of course, at thelbma on Twitter. And, of course, you can find myself at untether.tv. Asif, can I take a moment here to make an announcement?
Of course you can.
We are about to launch the actual website for our great event called Untethered Talks. It's going to be available at untetheredtalks.com. It's not ready yet. Probably be ready by midweek, where you can buy tickets to the event June 26th, 27th at the Glen Gold Studio. We've got a great reception between the 2 days. It's a 2-day event, obviously, between the 2 days at the Steam Whistle Pub or the Steam Whistle Brewery. And we've got some great confirmed speakers. You can be able to find that information. I'm going to have a little bit more detail about that for our next episode next week, episode number 75. But check out later on this week. Untetheredtalks.com. Very, 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 very excited about this, simply because it's been a long time coming, and there's nothing like this in Canada. There's nothing like this around the world, I believe. So I'm really pumped about it. Untethered Talks. That's it. No more publishing. No more.
That's great, Rob. Excited for you. Excited for Untether. And if you're in Canada, I encourage you to come to Toronto for that. And I know Rob's got a great program, and we'll learn more about it.
Yes, you will. All right, so what say we dive into the week that was in this location world that we live in, because some great stories that came up out of this, and I'm sure that the conversation is going to be deep and long on a lot of these things. Like our first story, which is AT&T partnering with Digby for, a clothing chain called Maurice's. So I think we have the same question about this, but why don't you dive into it, Asif?
Yeah, so my challenge with this is, Maurice's is a big clothing chain, 800 stores in the U.S. The same company also owns Dress Barn, so this is a fairly big fashion retailer. And I don't begrudge them. I think this is great that they're, every retailer should be looking at, how they're using location-based, platforms to drive traffic into stores, engage consumers, sell more stuff. I think that's fantastic. What I'm questioning here is, where is AT&T going with this? I mean, they partnered with Digby. This is the first. Digby's got a platform called Local Point. It's a mobile app platform. It can do a bunch of things. It does some indoor location stuff. You can push deals. You can white label it, which is what they're doing here with Maurice's. And again, I love the Digby platform. I think it's great. My challenge is with AT&T, because what does this mean? Like, what is their location strategy? Are they going now and saying, we've got a platform, that we've licensed from Digby, and we can white label this for any retailer that wants it, and away you go? What does that mean for Shop Alerts, which is their, Placecast-based system, pushing deals, for retailers over SMS? Are they going to do both? Are they dropping Placecast? What's happening? I got a lot of questions here.
You've got more questions than answers, right? And it's the exact same thing for me, is that, this is a kind of a ho-hum story, except for what is AT&T doing in the middle of all of this? And were they the broker that brought Digby and Maurice's together? Or, so many questions. So if anybody's out there with AT&T that can clarify this, we'd love to have you on the show just for like a 5-minute segment to talk about this, because we are confused. Is AT&T just this is going to sound terrible, but is AT&T just a location-based marketing whore? Is she cheating on everybody else? Is that what's going on here?
I don't know, but in the press release I read, there's a guy named Chris Hill, VP Advanced Mobility Solutions, AT&T Business and Home Solutions. Chris, if you're out there and you catch this podcast, give me a call this week or send me an email and let's talk about it. All right, because I do want clarity around this. I love the fact that you guys pushed out shopper alerts. You were the first carrier in the U.S. that did it. You want some clarity around this Digby stuff, and just overall strategy. So please do reach out.
Yeah, and I wasn't calling you, Chris. I wasn't calling you a whore. All right, I just want to make sure that's clear, right?
Yeah.
Well, because we're just a little bit confused, that's all. So we'd love some clarification on that. And any of the listeners, fine folks out there who are listening to this, please, if you guys have any insight, we'd love to hear from you. Email Asif or myself, asif@thelbma.com or untethered@gmail.com, or send it to both of us and let us know if you know any of the other scoop around that.
Yeah.
Second story. God, I love these names. MojoStreet, Deccan Chargers. Let's talk about this. This is a cricket team in India that is going so social, so location-based marketing. I love this story, Asif.
Yeah, I do too. We've talked about MojoStreet in the past when they originally launched. So this is in India, as you pointed out. Hyderabad cricket-based team called the Deccan Chargers. And, this is like what Foursquare should be doing as far as I'm concerned. These guys are out there. They've partnered with hundreds of retailers in India. And, these are brands and sponsors of the Deccan Chargers, teams that are behind them, as a sports organization. And they've basically gamified the whole experience for fans. And so the main piece of this is that, you go about your daily business, you're checking into places, these 100 different stores in India that have partnered with the Chargers. And as you go about and you get deals and you get special offers and all the usual stuff that you get in location-based stuff, if you check into the sort of maximum number of partner locations, so they've set this threshold, and if you hit that threshold, you get to virtually own the team. You get to be a virtual owner of the cricket team, and you get to go hang out in the owner's lounge and watch the games. I mean, that's pretty cool.
That is very cool. Yeah. Well, what I like about this very much is it's a company that has brought their partners together. So it's one thing to support a team or a franchise like this, but it's another thing for them to be able to drive traffic. This is really the great thing about mobile and location, is that you can influence people to go to these. It's not just about putting an advertisement on your jersey or on the stadium. It's about rewarding them for return visits, right? To those locations, and that's what
exactly. It's about building loyalty, right?
That's an easier way to say it, I suppose. Yeah, building loyalty. I'm a word guy. Asif just cuts right to the chase. I could have that could have been 9,000 words, but it's loyalty. So
right.
I'm with you. I like this play. I think that there's a reason that we follow these players, and most of the people have been focused on. I'm a Yankees fan. Let the barrage begin. I'm a Yankees fan, but when I follow guys like Nick Swisher, who's very.
At least you beat the Red Sox yesterday.
It rained out today, but big time. They scored 14 runs in the last two innings. The seventh and eighth to win. But the thing with this is that I follow guys like Nick Swisher to get a little bit of insight into what their lives are like. It's not real, but it's different when you're following a player versus when you're following a team, and the team then gives you benefit for being a fan like this. And loyalty is key. Loyalty is key. I love it. So that's the Deccan Chargers. It's a cricket team in India, and Hyderabad and MojoStreet teaming up. It's a game. Go and check that out. I like this play. And I know Asif does as well.
Of course.
All right. Third story. This is big. This is big. It took... What was that stat that we saw? Let me see if I can pull it up here in a second. Is that it took Instagram 2.5 months to reach 1 million users. It took Facebook 10 months to reach 1 million users, and it took this company Banjo 9 months to reach 1 million users. So that's ahead of Facebook, and kind of well behind Instagram. But we all know that Instagram is a corner case. We're talking about Banjo. We're talking about this company that is a location-aware social application along the lines of Highlight and Glancy, but cool. And Damien Patton is the CEO. And if you don't mind, I have a clip here of an interview that I did with Damien that he's just going to kind of go into the reason why he brought or he invented and founded Banjo. So if all works well, you'll be able to hear this.
Yeah,
let's do this. Here it is. Here's Damien Patton, the CEO of Banjo, telling his story.
Seeing a problem and finding a solution. That's how I started all my companies. Yeah. And that's how Banjo began. I mean, I was at an airport on the East Coast, and a good friend of mine who I'd served in Desert Storm with was in the same airport as me. I got home to Las Vegas. I checked my social network and realized that he happened to be in the same terminal as me at the same time. We probably spent 2 hours there together. Could have been back-to-back for all I know. But it frustrated me that someone I hadn't seen in years, because he lives in Texas, I live in Las Vegas, and we were both in Boston. And not only in Boston, but we were really close to one another, is that fragmentation of the social networks and mobile both, it didn't allow us to be notified that one another was there. And so it was that night, literally, that I started programming what has become Banjo. I mean, it didn't begin life as Banjo, of course. It began life as a set of ideas around technology to build this connection engine, if you will, to connect humans and so we could interact better with one another. We didn't miss out on the important things of life. And that'll go, we'll talk about it, go way beyond just you and I being able to meet when we're near one another. It's going to go into things that are important to us outside of human connection that we don't want to miss out on. And when we find out we missed out on an event, for example, we talked about you're a Bruce Springsteen fan. I hope I didn't let anything out of the bag there.
No, people know. Trust me.
But imagine if you had been in Boston like I was, and when Bruce played with the Dropkick Murphys, and imagine as you were walking by Fenway Park when they were playing at the House of Blues, your phone said to you, "Hey, Rob, Bruce is playing over there." That might have been important information for you to know. And if you had gone home and you got back to Ottawa and you read in your paper how he just played that night and you walked right down, yep, it would be a pretty big bummer, right? But anyway, so this is how Banjo came about, and so to me it was really thinking about the idea of this lost human connection, how we've become so fragmented. We're all in one social network or another, and then every time I join a new social network, I got to get all my friends to join, and which friends join which one and the other. I don't know. It can be pretty overwhelming.
Well, that so you know that's Damien Patton, who is a remarkable guy. I implore you to go and take a listen to this interview. Just not because I want to promote anything here, but simply because his story is so awesome. He's a two-time. I think we've talked this. He's a two-time Desert Storm vet. He's also was a chief mechanic at NASCAR, and he started this company. I mean, he's just a pretty remarkable guy. But the story here is they hit 1 million users, which is pretty amazing, isn't it, Asif?
Oh, it's unbelievable. I mean, to have that kind of growth, and I mean, you see the infographic there, ahead of Facebook. The other thing too is when I was last time I was out in San Francisco, I went and sat down with these guys, with Damien, with Jennifer Peck, who runs marketing for them, and we were talking a bit broader. And one of the interesting things about these guys is that their user base, these million users, it's not just a North American thing. They have a high percentage of folks over in places like Istanbul and Turkey and Rome, a big chunk of their user base is over in that part of the world too. So, I mean, yeah, they're a U.S. company, but they're global in scope, and I think that's partly why they're growing so quickly. Is they're attractive, across the board. And when you look at that infographic too, that in that bottom right section, where you see the number of typical Banjo user and the number of friends they have on Twitter and Facebook and other platforms, you see where Foursquare is. It's at the bottom, right? It's interesting to see that people who use Banjo have more Instagram connections than they do Foursquare connections, and that just says to me that there's a wider appeal here within the Banjo platform for how they use location. It's not just about check-ins and this kind of thing. It's more of a I'll call it a location browser than it is a finding friends and recommendation engine like a Highlight or a Glancy or that kind of thing. So this is more about I wrote a piece just the other day and I call it kind of gives you this ability to eavesdrop on what's happening around locations around the world. That's for me what Banjo is this ability to kind of reach into any part of the globe at any time. There's a crisis happening in Syria right now. Let's listen in on what's going on there from a location perspective. So anyhow, congratulations to them. Glad that they're part of the LBMA and expect more great things from them.
It's interesting because when I was speaking to them, this is at the end of February, they were at about 650,000 users. They were just launched version 2.0. They were growing at about 100,000 people a week, and obviously this thing just accelerated to over 1 million. Yeah, there have been some detractors around this. We're big fans of Banjo, but the same thing about, you remember that what was that app, the where the girls are? Remember that app?
Girls for Me or something.
Yeah. But there's been some concern around that. So obviously, privacy is always a key when it comes to this thing, and they adhere to their own privacy requirements. But everybody who's out there using these services, it's buyer beware. You use these services, you check in with Foursquare, you check in with Twitter, you use Instagram, you use all these services, Facebook. You are, broadcasting your location, and it is part of an open API. And
it's all opt-in. It's all opt-in.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but I'm a big fan. So congratulations to Banjo. And when you saw on that infographic, if I can pull it up here again, is that what we're talking about here is it took 2.5 months for, as I said, Instagram to get to 1 million members. It took Banjo 9 months, Facebook 10 months, Path 13 months, Foursquare 16 months. Pinterest 20 months, and Twitter 24 months. So pretty cool on them. And anyway, yeah. So Banjo hits 1 million users. Pretty amazing.
Love it.
Story number 4. 4. Yeah, not 8. 4. Mastercard is getting into the daily deals space with a company called Local Offer Network. What is this? It strikes me as like they're so far behind, but are they doing this right?
That was sort of my reaction. I love Local Offer Network. It's yet another Chicago deal service, like Groupon, but a little more oriented towards white labeling, which is obviously why they're partnering with Mastercard here. I think it's a little, too little, too late in the case of these guys, and I don't understand why we have to go out and at this sort of stage in the evolution of the daily deal space, why we got to go and do yet another one. I much prefer, honestly, what Amex is doing in partnering with Twitter and Foursquare and simply, associating their card on back end to existing platforms. Let's call it that. I think that's a much cleaner, much easier way to participate in sort of the deal special space. So I'm a bit confused by this one, as I was with the AT&T one. So Mastercard, call me. We want to know more. Fill us in.
I like that. The other thing that they didn't mention in the announcements that I read, at least, was the tie-in was the seamless tie-in to the deals, like automatic discounts or along those lines when you purchase, so you don't even have to worry about coupons and those kind of things. So yeah, I didn't see that, and it seems logical that that's what they would be doing right away, is that you would just kind of get your statement and would say, look, oh, you got 25% discount because it's a partner of MasterCard, or there's a daily deal here or something to that extent.
Yeah, and that could be, but it wasn't explained that way to me. I mean, that's not what I saw in there. I just, and how do you, how do you know what partners, what retailers are part of this thing, so you're getting a deal, or that you just see the deal materialize on your statement after the fact? I don't know. It's a little confusing.
Here, a question about these things is that, do you think that these credit cards, like American Express is doing this with everybody. They're basically they're working with every company they can. But do you see like we've talked about carriers owning the customer and carriers owning location and really we're just waiting for them to really start to dominate. Mm-hmm. Do you see that the credit card companies just, I think we've talked about this many times before, but you got to see the credit card companies eventually just owning the space and saying, Groupon, you're done. Living Social, you're done. Or you're just sequestered over to Amazon. And then like WagJag, you're done. SwarmJam, you're done. At some point, the credit cards just step in and own this market.
Well, I think if you want to survive and you're any one of those guys you just mentioned, you have to connect to a credit card. I mean, there's no way that you can continue to do it on your own. You've got to have integrated, payments. You got to simplify the process for the consumer, or on the redemption side, which is obviously what Foursquare and Amex and Twitter and Amex have been doing, and I love it. We've talked about it before. I think Mastercard should be doing it, Capital One should be doing it, and all these guys should be all over this with their existing merchant networks. And if they do it the right way, they don't need Groupon or Living Social, as you're alluding to, right? So I think if you are Groupon or Living Social or whoever, you need to be reaching out and making those calls and partnering now. So anyhow, I need more explanation on this Mastercard local offer network thing. It's not clear to me or to the consumer. I don't think what they're doing here.
No, clearly we don't know what they're doing. And I'm with you, is that it might be time for these credit card companies to just go, instead of building their own, either integrate into somebody else's, make some money off of that network, create awareness for their customers that way, or just go buy one of these things. Stop reinventing this every time, man.
Yeah, I mean, and remember, local offer network, the partner in this is a deal aggregator, right? So, and I won't, sit here and say I know what deals are aggregating. I assume they're pulling Groupon deals in and others and putting all those into a sort of one spot, and does that mean when I buy one of those deals through this aggregator, to pay for it, the discount comes off there? I don't know. It wasn't verbalized that way. So lots of questions, very little answers. Please call us. We need more.
Please call us. Okay.
Yes.
Well, that's the fourth story. MasterCard launching their daily deals with local offer network. I mean, maybe local offer network is an acquisition target for MasterCard. Who knows, right? Who knows?
Could be.
Start spreading some rumors.
Why not?
All right. Last story here before we dive into our interview, which is Jyri Engestrom of Ditto from an interview that I did prior to his being acquired by Groupon. PizzaHut Boston Market partnering with FrontFlip. I've got a video clip. Man, I love these video clips. The fact that I can do this and bring this to you. It might not be great for you guys that are listening, but this might give you incentive to either jump on.
Yeah, let's set it up and then we'll play
sure.
the video.
So let's talk about this. Go ahead.
Yeah, so this is a FrontFlip, awesome company. I mean, a fantastic little product here. It's all about building loyalty, for your retail or your restaurant business. And quite simply, what this is the creation of a virtual scratch card on your mobile device through an app that FrontFlip has. And so, a Pizza Hut or a Boston Market in this particular case, you sign up with these guys, you create little offers, like a little scratch card, and we'll show the video in a second, and you scratch your mobile phone just like this, touch screen, and you win a 2-for-1 appetizer or whatever the chain decides to make available. And what I love about these guys is that, you know, they get it. It's so simple. It's so easy. Sean Beckner, who's the CEO, met this guy. They had a little booth at Consumer Engagement Technology World where I was. And, you know, from the minute I walked by and saw these guys, like, I couldn't stop bringing potential customers to them. You know, I know they're trialing with Applebee's. They've done stuff with Yogurtini, which is what you're going to show right now. You know, go ahead, show the video. I love FrontFlip.
See, sounds like you're a big fan of these guys, buddy.
Yeah, man.
All right, let me roll this clip, and then we'll come back and we'll see what it's like on the flip side here. Here is Yogurtini. All right, here.
There's no confusion here, right? It's very simple.
Here it is.
Yogurtini is a self-serve frozen yogurt shop with several different flavors of yogurt, as well as a large spread of toppings that people can choose from and make themselves a dessert. I love FrontFlip. FrontFlip is a positive experience for the customers, and it's also easy to use.
FrontFlip is way easier than a coupon, because coupons, you have to take it out the newspaper, bring it up to the cashier lady or man, and it just takes up a lot of time. With FrontFlip, you just show them your phone and it's over and easy.
Business is up because of FrontFlip, because the everyday customers that come in are tempted to come in more often, and on top of that, they may even get more. What has also been neat about it, our FrontFlip users are bringing in their friends, and their friends are also accessing FrontFlip.
I'm getting something to come here, so I'm probably going to come more than I usually do. FrontFlip was amazing. I got free yogurt, and that just makes the whole experience better.
FrontFlip has been a win-win situation for both our business and our customers. We love it.
And that is FrontFlip. Pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. You know, again, it's so simple. It's so easy. You know, I know these guys are going to be successful, not just in the restaurant industry, retail as well. It just makes sense. But I mean, restaurants an easy one. You know, you're so used to having those scratch cards, anyways, in this sort of traditional print form. Why not make them mobile?
So what is it, you know, obviously one of the coolest things about this is the fact that you saw it, for those of you who didn't get to see it, you would have seen it literally, it's a QR code scanner. It pops up with a scratch, like literally you use your finger and scratch off the top and it gives you discounts at product, and this time it was Yogurtini. You know, it does have wide appeal, obviously, but what was it that struck you with it? Why were you bringing customers to their booth?
You know, again, for me, you know, I see a lot of stuff, as do you, and you know, whenever I see something that is just so simple, it's so easy to deploy, you know, it's not, you know, it's not super expensive or anything like that, you know, from the merchant's perspective to put it in place. You know, it just makes sense, right? You know, try this thing out. You know, you're already doing this anyways. Create a digital engagement. You can control, on the back end, there's a whole portal on this thing. You can control the frequency and the size of deals. And, you know, you as a merchant or restaurateur, you log in, you set up your own stuff. There's all kinds of great reporting. So you're getting all of that, right? As opposed to, you know, handed out, you know, a stack of print, you know, scratch off cards. You know, you have all this data, and you have data about, you know, the user's demographic as well, so that you can't get the other way. So it's just, you know, there's a lot of value add that they're bringing to the table. So anyhow, I'll stop talking about these guys now, because they're not paying.
Asif has a man crush on FrontFlip. Go to frontflip.com. Yeah, go to frontflip.com and take a look at what they've got. And you'll, for those of you who have who didn't get a chance to see the video that we just played, you heard it. Just it's there on FrontFlip. It's pretty cool. I like the simplicity. I love the simple technology. I'm a simple guy. I guess so is Asif. Hey. That's what we have in common. Those are the 5 stories that we think were important this past week when it came to, you know, brought to you by Asif, when it came to the location-based marketing world. What do you think? Did we miss anything? Reach out. Let us know. Untethered@gmail.com or Asif@thelbma.com. And by the way, I want to thank everybody who is out there pushing out Twitter posts and looking forward to these podcasts. So pull up a Twitter post a little later on in the episode, and we'll show you exactly what I mean by that. So we really appreciate you guys doing that. So let us know, are we on the right track here? We love it. Episode number 74. I can't believe it. So before we get into our funding and M&A portion of this, we thought it would be appropriate to play back just a small segment of an interview that I did with Ditto founder Jyri Engestrom, who's also, I mean, he's a well-decorated founder, and this is his second exit. He was just bought by Groupon. We'll talk about that on the flip side, but it's very interesting to hear his perspective of what Ditto is, and that's what this is. So we're going to give you 3 or 4 or 5 minutes of Jyri. We're going to come back on the flip side and talk about the acquisition by Groupon. So here is Jyri Engestrom of Ditto. Enjoy. Craving for something to go beyond the check-in. Check-in is not the end of the line. So, and then GigOhm, good friends over GigOhm, says that Ditto is part of a larger shift in the location game as startups look to help users figure out where to go with personalized recommendations. So a recommendation engine. So I love this. Beyond the check-in, recommendations, where should I go? Predictive, preemptive. Jyri, fill in the blanks. What does Ditto do?
Sure, Rob. So for those of you who have an iPhone, Ditto is available in the App Store, so you feel free to check it out yourself. Sites over at ditto.me, Ditto.me. And so I'm actually, like one could say, a second-time entrepreneur. So my previous company was called Jyri, which was, for those of you who were active online at the time might remember, sort of like very similar to Twitter. And we were acquired by Google back in 2007, and then I worked at Google for a few years. And after I left Google, founded Ditto. And the idea for Ditto really emerged out of what I saw happening with Jyri and then later at Google. Basically, search or discovery, as I'd like to prefer to call it, is clearly going social. And social, on the other hand, is going mobile. So it seemed logical, if one was to kind of address this question of how do people discover new things, to start in a social way, to start with these devices and what you could build for a phone. And that's really where Ditto kind of comes in, because on Ditto, you tap to announce your intent to do things. So let me see if I can actually get this UI to show here.
It looks good.
So this is kind of Foursquares in the sense that you have a range of these activities that you can announce that you're doing. For instance, let's say, let's assume that you want to do coffee. And what you can do then is you can either define, let's say that you're heading out to a particular coffee shop nearby. You can just notice I'm doing everything by tapping here. I'm not needing to type anything, so it's going to optimize for the touchscreen. So what I'll do is I can, tell people, oh, I'm heading over to, for instance, here's the coffee shops next door here. And in fact, a couple of those have been favorited by a bunch of my friends. So this is a way of kind of quickly getting, social suggestions, recommendations about what's happening nearby. And it might be that I choose one of them, but actually an easier way is just to say, I haven't decided where I'm going yet, and just tap send without having to type anything. And then this message now gets pushed out to all my friends around me. So again, very easy way to announce your intent to do something. And what we're doing here is then allowing people to respond to that message by saying something like, I'm just going to reply to it myself here to show this quickly, where I can now reply to my friends by giving them a recommendation. I'm just going to recommend something back to myself here to make it quicker. I'm not even going to bother typing anything again, and saying Blue Bottle Coffee Kiosk, which is actually, by the way, if you're ever visiting San Francisco, Rob, an excellent place to get a cappuccino or an espresso. So here you see how, I was able to just do something quite meaningful, give somebody a recommendation back ad hoc without having to type anything. And this is where I believe this is going. So here, actually, I'll show you another thread that seems to be just there. Something that happened where a friend of mine, Trevor Cornwall, over in Palo Alto, where I used to live, said he was heading out with his kids and he was going to buy some shoes. And I happened to have lived in Palo Alto, so I knew a great kids shoe store. And I was able to tell him, well, you know, good stuff in Howard Shoes, go check it out. And he actually went in and he seems to have bought something there. And he's also given me, notice this little trophy here, it says thanks.
Yep.
And that's a way on Ditto to give users what I guess could be called karma for the geeks out there who remember things like, you know, all these karma systems, so or seller rating. It's a kind of way to, you know, show credibility. So if you get a recommendation from a friend, you know who they are. But if you look at the public stream of activities, you can also respond to complete strangers who may have chosen to post something publicly. Because it could be, I don't know, like, you know, frankly, if I visit Ottawa, you'd be my only friend in Ottawa, Rob. And it could be that you don't happen to be online where I'm looking for a coffee shop, so I'd post it publicly and hope that somebody nearby who knows the neighborhood could respond to me even if I don't know who they are. So this is a way, on Ditto, we're trying to generalize this across what I call all social objects. So not just coffee shops, not just locations, but also doing it for other things. For instance, you can do this on Ditto for movies. So we have, again, I'm trying to show this UI here. I apologize if it's not really showing, but here I'm saying, and I'm actually planning to see a movie later tonight, and I haven't decided what I'm going to see yet. But what I'm doing now is I'm checking what's playing nearby me tonight. We're actually using the same database that, for instance, if you use Google Movies, you know, and you can see what's playing nearby me tonight. And again, using the same logic here, I could choose to say, well, you know, I want to go see Hannah, which is actually unfinished, so it opens up with I've seen the trailer online, and it opens up with a plot about, you know, this kid living in the backwoods in Finland. So I'm thinking I might go see that. But for instance, I'll tell you a story. What happened last week was I said I was going to go see Source Code, another movie, and then somebody actually replied to me and said, "Oh, don't go see Source Code. I just saw it and it sucked." And then someone else said, "You should go and see this other movie, Win-Win, instead." And I actually ended up altering my decision based on this conversation. So I believe in the power of combining both this future-oriented announcing your intent together with algorithmic recommendations as well as these real-time recommendations coming from your social network. Because I believe that what you end up with is something that's an extremely useful way for people to not just check in, which typically happens when you're already somewhere. You know, even if you get pushed a deal about something that's happening across the street, what are your chances of getting up at that point and walking across the street? Are fairly low.
So
but when you do it before people are actually there, or before they've actually, you know, gone to see the movie, even if they think they know what they want, their friends still get an opportunity to, you know, give them back advice. So it's about helping people help each other, which I think really is, you know, at the core of the, you know, the power of the social web.
Well, that's Jyri. You know, the full interview is up on Tether. It was a real pleasure to sit with Jyri because he's the founder, as you heard, as you will know in a second, of Ditto. But he's also the founder of Jaiku and a bunch of other technologies. Jaiku was bought by Google, so he's had a number of exits. He's a guy that we should be listening to, and now he is part of the Groupon team. And I reached out to him to congratulate him, and I expect some great things to come from their acquisition. It's a great talent that they've bought. They did say that they were going to be shutting down Ditto on April 30th and launching something unique within Groupon. What do you think of this buy, Asif?
I think it's a good move for Groupon. I mean, I think, you know, they described it as you alluded to, this is for them, they said a talent acquisition primarily, and the Ditto service is going to be no longer. But when you think about Groupon, you think about, you know, the kinds of deals that they have. A lot of it is, you know, restaurants and food stuff. You know, and really the Ditto service, you know, as it's still operating for the next couple of weeks anyways, is, you know, was really about connecting users together with common interests, right, around food or entertainment. So, so from that perspective, I think this sort of potential to add to Groupon a social sharing, a location sharing piece to kind of bolster what they're doing, because I don't think Groupon now has been all that effective. I mean, I haven't seen any specific numbers on it, but I don't hear anybody talking about it really. I haven't seen any great buzz around Groupon now. And so if potentially that's the angle that they're going down, that they're going to, layer this kind of, find other people around you that, might want to take advantage of deals, or have common interest and do event, do group buying or around food or entertainment, which is the piece that Ditto specializes in. To me, that makes some sense. So I could see some value there for Groupon, and who knows? Who knows what the new product is that they're going to announce, or the new spin? That's pure speculation on my part, but definitely I see value there.
Yeah, well, when you can acquire this kind of talent, this kind of engineering, a small team. But you're right, and I think this is signifying Groupon looking for ways to diversify their current business, because they realize that, hopefully somebody does. There's some investigations in the U.S. Around some legal and or some financial stuff that's going on in Groupon. Tough, man. Tough. I think that they've finally realized, and this is quite a knock against Groupon, that this is the world's biggest Ponzi scheme. We're gonna find that out. Anybody who takes $1 billion in financing and takes 90% of that into the founders' pockets, I call horseshit. But I like Jyri, and I like what Ditto brought. So hopefully there's a good future for them out of jail for the executives over at Groupon. So Groupon acquires Ditto.
I'm sure Jyri didn't agree to become a director of the company.
No, thank God. And hopefully, my hope is that he got paid in cash, just like all the other vendors, the one-offs that use Groupon. Not a big fan of that company at all. We're going to wake up one day and you will rue the day. You will say, listen, hey, you know what? Woodbridge is right, man. This is just a coupon company. How the hell did we get in this? It's just coupons, man. And maybe this is them diversifying, and all the best to Jyri. I really like him. I like Ditto. I enjoyed our conversation. Go find it on untether.tv. Second story. Path. Those guys. I was so damn sure they would have been acquired by Google by now, but they aren't. Path raising $30 million, which is a huge chunk of change.
Yeah, it is. And it was interesting. I read a story, and they said, this is the hunt for the next Instagram, and is how they describe Path. And I'm with you. I'm surprised Path is still kicking on its own and hasn't been picked up already. These are guys that launched with big fanfare, grew really, really quickly. We talked about them earlier, not as quickly as Banjo, but quickly. The unfortunate thing for them, I mean, they got in a lot of trouble early on in terms of once people figured out how they were growing so quickly, because they were, if you use Path, they tapped right into your address book and started broadcasting to everybody in your contact database to try and build connections, and that was a no-no. Despite all that, they're still kicking. They just took in $30 million from some big people, Greylock, Redpoint Ventures, apparently even Sir Richard Branson is involved in this deal as well. So, it's interesting. It's I doubt they'll be around a year from now.
That's my feeling, is that I'm so surprised. Like, this is a natural fit. When Instagram was picked up by Facebook, Path is basically Dave Morin, who comes from the Facebook team, one of the early guys in Facebook. This is a real great mobile version of what Facebook should be. It's a better fit. It's a better marriage than Instagram is for Facebook, and just simply because it mimics it's the way that the mobile experience should be on Facebook. Facebook's mobile experience is terrible. Everybody just accepts it, and we carry on. But what ends up here is that there's an interesting play here. for these guys, because I believe that you're right. This is a $30 million investment. This company won't be around in a year from now. Google will buy these guys because it's a fit for Google. And Google's mobile version is terrible. Google Plus is floundering, and maybe this is what will prop it up. And Google is in what I think is in a little bit of trouble around their service offering. They have Android, but they have no way of making money off of this. And the search business is changing. But Redpoint Ventures, I'm going to read this, so pardon my profile here. But they said that there's a post that they have here, and I'll pull it up here. It says, why we led an investment in Path. And they say they're super excited to announce that they led the investment in Path. It's $30 million. They were struck by the combination of audacious vision, intellect, product sense, leadership, humor, and modesty of Dave Morin, and the design brilliance that Dustin Miro brings to Path. They just knew that this was a business that they had to be a part of, whatever that was. So they paid a hefty price, and $30 million is what they put into it. And as you said, yeah, Richard Branson and some of the biggest investors. I mean, Kleiner's in there, and so is, they get some pedigree. What have they raised? Like $100 and something million, $112 million, something like that?
No, I don't think it's that much. They'd only raised 11.2 before.
Okay, so yeah, all right. Well, this is a Series B at $30 million.
Yeah, the valuation on the 30 is $250 million. Yeah.
Well, you know what? A billion is the new asking price. Yeah, apparently it was $2 billion. You read that story?
Yeah. Well, the next one is $4 billion.
Exactly. So. See, sequentially, this just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Nobody's buying Square, but that's our...
We just keep adding more billions, so here we go.
It's just ridiculous when we're talking about this much money. But Square, seeking to raise $250 million at a $4 billion valuation. Yeah. And now this is an interesting play. $4 billion bucks. That's a valuation, though.
Yeah.
So... but this is up from $1 billion 10 months ago. That's what their valuation was. Their last raise, $100 million at a $1 billion valuation, and everybody thought that was high. Now $4 billion. What do you think of this, Asif?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know what I think. I think the numbers are way out of whack. And when you think about Square, I mean, the guys. I mean, I'm not knocking this technology. I love Square as a payment vehicle for merchants. Absolutely. And disintermediating, the enormous fees that merchants have been forced to pay over the years. So, I love technology like this. I love Square, Payfirma, iZettle, all these guys. Right? I love it, love it, love it. The valuation is killing me. And I know what they're basing this on. They're basically coming in saying, look, we're doing, I think they processed, where's the numbers here? Sorry, I'm looking down for a second. They processed $4 billion in transactions last year. So they got money flowing through. I mean, they're swiping a lot of cards through Square devices, $4 billion worth of transactions. But most of that is not retained revenue. I mean, they're not holding those earnings. Most of that's going through the credit card companies anyways. So I don't know how you can say that we have a $4 billion valuation when, the bulk of that $4 billion in fees you're processing, you're handing over to somebody else.
Totally agree. Totally agree. We both love this company because it democratizes credit card transactions, right? Yeah. It brings it down to the small and medium-sized enterprises. You don't need a merchant account. You don't need all that garbage. And they have gone out. They have allowed you to do cash registers through the iPad. They've given you e-wallet and some really innovative and unique services through smartphones. But you're right. Yep. This valuation is very high, and you're just riding a wave. And when you start to when people rationalize this, and this is why I love this. I'm going to pull up an article from All Things D. Trisha Jyri. So sorry, Trisha, that I probably got that wrong. She takes a swipe at this as well. Really basically says, listen, you're crazy. And her argument here is that she did a back-of-the-envelope calculation of revenue at $122 million. This is based on the number of transactions, the transaction fees, and being a little bit lenient around the dollars. $122 million. She says that this is in line with PayPal's revenue when they were bought by eBay. They were about $800 million. They bought it for $1.5 billion in 2002. And so, even by those terms, that was a lot of money. But there's nothing that justifies a $4 billion valuation, nothing whatsoever. And I think what's great about this is that they're out there searching for this and they haven't closed it. So I think that people are kind of giving some pause around the valuation of this. I love the service, I love the company, but Mike, come on. $4 billion, especially like, you know, this is a company that was started by the co-founder of Twitter as well, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
Jack
So Dorsey, is he even involved in this? Because he's he's CEO of two companies at the same time.
CEO of two companies.
Like that. You know, as a guy that I suppose if you can be that flexible with this, then either way, he's going to be one of the wealthiest guys on the planet should anything happen with either of these companies. So Square seeking $250 million at a $4 billion valuation, still seeking, still looking, desperately seeking Susan here, trying to find some money. Hopefully these things come down, right? Hopefully people realize this, because $1 billion for Instagram, a $250 million valuation for Path, $4 billion valuation for something like Square. You know, these are great companies, but my God, they're not worth that much money. And especially,
they're getting to the point where even Apple couldn't buy them anymore.
Wait a second. Apple can buy each and every one of us. Pretty sure.
Anyways.
All right, so those are the funding stories. Groupon acquiring Ditto, Path raising $30 million, and you've got poor little Square out there trying to raise $250 million at a $4 billion valuation. Did we miss anything? Please let us know. untether@gmail.com or asif@thelbma.com. Let's finish off with our resource, which is a pretty cool thing. This is mapping Foursquare data. What is this, Asif?
Yeah, it's really interesting. So, I mean, obviously, you know, the Foursquare API allows you to suck, you know, a lot of data out of it. But it's not very often that we see somebody take that data and, you know, visualize it on a map and kind of lay it out and help us actually do something useful with it. So there's this group called Livehoods, Livehoods, and we'll throw it up here so you can actually see this visualization. But they basically, you know, take that data, plot it on a map. The example that we're showing you here is Manhattan. And it basically helps you to understand the flow of people and, you know, what are the hot spots, what neighborhoods are hot, you know, what particular categories and bars and this kind of stuff. And then it can also show you similar neighborhoods and other areas that, you know, might be of equal interest to you if you're part of this data set. So it's kind of interesting. And, you know, it's all about, you know, creatively displaying and using the data to make, you know, more informed decisions. And I like it. You know, I think, you know, a picture is worth 1,000 words, they say, right? So, you know, I think this is, you know, it's one thing to get a recommendation, you know, coming out of, you know, a recommendation engine in the app itself to say, oh, you know, you went to this place, your friends went here, you might like this restaurant. It's another thing to actually go to a site and visually see, you know, likes and interests, you know, mapped out this way. So I really like this. I think we need more of this kind of visualization of data.
You know, it reminds me of Foursquare. Remember that?
Yes.
This is much richer in the amount of data that we get from this, because it just shows you kind of like you know, things around the composition of the people that are using this, the age category. I mean, it's pretty awesome. How many times, you know, where the frequency? Like I'm pulling this up right now, but if you kind of look over where the red bars are, you'll see the activity on the days of the week, and it shows you what are busier, what are quieter days, and I think that these kind of just that kind of stuff really does. This is the richness of this data. I'm a data geek. I love this stuff, and it's what they call data porn. It is just incredible the amount of insight you can get out of this. So I love this. Go and check it out at livehoods.org. Livehoods, HOODS.org, and prepare to be. You're going to lose time. When Asif sent this out, I lost a half a day.
It's amazing, and you can you know, you go to that site. And you know, it's fully interactive. You can scale the whole thing and just, you know, do your usual, you know, sort of if you're used to the touch phone, you know, dragging the fingers back and forth. You can do all of that and drill into a certain piece of the city and kind of like really focus on the data and understand, you know, popular places, unique things to do, all this kinds of interesting stuff. So it's really cool. Anyhow, Livehoods, great job, guys.
It's very cool. It's very, 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 very cool. All right, Asif Khan. What have we got? That's it. We got nothing left.
That's it.
Do we?
We are done. Now, all we got to do now is put this to bed and go prepare for our I don't know, what do we call it? 3/4 of a century episode next week.
75.
75.
Yeah, this is when I'm going to start smoking this episode. I pick up the habit again. I do want to call out right before we finish here. I got this great tweet from Ali Shah at WebStarResearch. It says, "I can't think of a better way to start off the week than by listening to at Untether and at Asif Khan duel that out on This Week in Location-Based Marketing. Mobile awesomeness." Ali, you are our caller of the week, buddy. We really appreciate that.
There you
That
go.
is, come on. I love that. Ali Shah. Everybody should follow Ali Shah. Okay? Just do it. I'm going to pull up. There it is right there. WebStar Research. At WebStar Research. Thank you, Ali. Really appreciate you doing that. Thank you. Keep that stuff coming. We really like that kind of feedback, especially the good stuff. As I said, bad feedback over here. Asif at the LBMA. Good feedback comes to untether@gmail.com.
Right.
And that's it. We will be back next week for episode number 75, as we always are. Episode number 75. So until then, if you have any stories that you'd like us to cover, if you're a company that would like to be on the show, if you would like to defend something that we have mentioned in this or argue about something that we've mentioned in this, reach out. Untether@gmail.com, Asif at the LBMA.com. We'd love to hear this kind of stuff, and it's happened already. We love this. So please reach out. But if not, we're just going to keep bringing these great stories to you each and every week, and about this great industry that is growing at insane rates and insane valuations, as we have just seen. So
yeah, and just to reinforce what Rob just said. I mean, if there's something that we're confused about, we got it wrong, whatever, let us know. And it happened this week, and we were contacted by the folks at Quantum Cards, to further clarify. And we'll we're happy to get you on here and let you tell it in your own words. So yeah, please do.
We are conversation starters. That's what we do here. We just bring it to the forefront, and we'll let you guys
stir it up.
Exactly. So until episode number 75, well, we will continue to stir this up. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time on This Week in Location-Based Marketing. Have a great week, Asif.
You too, Rob. Cheers.